Hello, and welcome to Tales from the Twists. My name is Joe Lewis, and I'm joined here today by my co-host, Anthony Bull.
Hey, how's it going, Joe?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good.
Tales from the Twists is our weekly podcast where we like to talk about Round the Twist, an 80s, 90s television program from Australia.
From Australia.
From Australia, indeed. This week on Tales from the Twist, we're talking about Gumleaf War, which is the 6th episode of the first season.
Mm-hmm. How many episodes are left here?
There's about 12 in the first season, I think.
So halfway through.
Yeah, we're about halfway of the
Ah.
first season. We've got a few seasons to go after this.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Gumleaf War. And so at the start of each episode, we always start with our theme song, and then we go into a teaser for the episode. And so this week we had Gumleaf War. We usually have our text over some sort of teaser image. And this week we just had some gum trees. But we had Gumleaf War, the title of the episode, in like a Western font.
Yeah.
Over the top of that.
When you say Western font, what do you mean Western font?
Well, you know, the same font they would put on the front of...
Wild West?
Fistful of Dollars or something?
Yeah. See, I thought...
Magnificent Seven?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the font. Like, I thought the font was really...
Yeah, but it's a classic Western font.
I thought the font was incredibly derivative and not very creative at all.
Yeah, but the idea of the font was to conjure those Western images in your mind. It wasn't to be innovative in use of font.
Yeah, but it's Western, but then they were like, it's not, it's Stockman, right?
Yeah, it will...
In its way, it's more Stockmanish-esque, and that's what I think they should have gone with. Like,
to be fair, I think it was the same font they used in what's that movie? The Man from Snowy River. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, I guess if it was the same movie, yeah, might as well. I would have gone with a thinner font, maybe, to give it a more classic, old-timey look. But whatever. That's I don't design.
I think it was era-appropriate font.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was too inappropriate.
No,
for what they were trying to do.
It was better than every other font that I've seen lately, because, on them, because, like, what was it? Birdstar was Pooh.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the Cabbage Patch fib was, but...
No, I don't remember. I think it was
green. Nothing stood out as being, yeah, that was good. At least this one was distinguished in some way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Launching into the episode, we have Pete and Linda on the couch, and Pete is goofing out, and Linda's doing study, and Pete has written... some stuff on his hands. So on his left hand, he's written... Was it Sam?
Was it Sam?
I don't know.
I don't know if it's her name, though. What was her name?
Her name is Fiona.
My wife? Right? Fiona? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Fiona.
I think he was talking about, like... I think it's supposed to be some sort of star. It's on Fiona.
Oh, some sort of... okay, so some sort of celebrity.
Pop culture celebrity.
Because that's weird, because it's like, I thought, like, Fiona, like, is a fox, is what comes... Because, like, what it says is, he says, Sam is a fox, right?
Yeah.
With his hand, so like...
One word on a side of each of his hands. So he's got 4 sides of two sides of each hand for a total of 4 sides, and he's written a word on each side.
The thing is...
Sam is a fox, and he turns them over in succession to make the thing. It's very grade 7 girl thing to do.
It's not very good, like, because think about it, fox, the word fox, is and are... They all pretty much contain a lot of the letters of Fiona, missing the N, of course. So you could just do it on your fingers, and you could be even more creative. You'd look a lot cooler doing it, you know. You move one of fingers up. Like, you know, like that, what's that, Kanye West? No, it's not Kanye West. That song by Daft Punk.
No idea.
Harder, stronger, faster.
And
the guy's got the fingers and stuff, and he does, like, the letters. Yeah, something like that. That's something creative. His was just freaking, I could do that. I could write anything on my hand. And I'm just as creative as Pete.
Peter's not a very creative person unless puns are involved.
Yeah, that's true. You should have said something like, Sam is... Oh, actually, there's no real pun there, I'm sorry. He's
goofing out with his hands.
Yeah.
And Linda says...
That's a good thing if someone comes in out of context.
He's goofing out with his hands. Linda says, it doesn't matter what people look like. And Pete says, that's just as well for you. Because he's implying that Linda's not very attractive.
Well, that's just sibling rivalry, I guess. Competition, I guess. I don't know.
Competition. The laws of competition. Linda gets a package when her father and younger brother come in and give it to her.
Yeah.
And she runs upstairs, and her brother's trying to work out what it is, and she runs upstairs into her bedroom and closes the door and begins to open the package. Mm-hmm. So she opens it up, and it's a package of makeup.
Yeah.
Yep. She opens it up, and I think she's trying to impress a picture of somebody that she likes, she's stuck up on
Well,
the mirror.
see,
It's
the
like
thing
a
is,
newspaper article.
I can't tell if I can't really tell if it's like teenage girl fantasy sort of thing where like, 'cause I know growing up, like my cousins, right, had this had a Hanson wall. Right,
A Hanson
mirror.
wall?
Yeah, pictures all of Hanson.
Like a shrine.
Sort of like a shrine, yeah, I guess, when they were like really young. But
Were
she
there
only
candles?
They weren't shrine, no, but it was a mirror.
Candles all throughout the room.
Yeah, cool. They bowed down to Hanson. No. But there's only one picture of him. Maybe I feel like it's beyond that. He's like, I think he's hot, and I think he's very attractive because he's a star, you know. But it's not just, I'm absolutely obsessed. It's you know, oh my gosh, Justin Bieber. I'm crazy for Justin Bieber.
I think it was that kind of thing, but either one, they didn't have the budget to create a shrine to this person, or two, if they toned it down for Linda, because she's not really that kind of an obsessive person, she would just kind of have like one picture.
Also, maybe it would like contradict her message, you know. Which I feel like when she's putting on the makeup too, she has the makeup, it contradicts her entire message she said before.
Yeah.
Which I guess is fine.
Well, it's the point of the episode.
Yeah, it's the whole point of the episode. It's like, looks don't matter.
Except they do.
Except they do, apparently. That's what you find out later.
That's the point of the episode. That's the message of the episode.
The message is, that's a pretty bad message, actually.
Looks don't matter, except they do.
So you better start looking good. So that's what I was wondering too, when she puts on the makeup, like, and she looks at herself in the mirror, is it because she thinks that she's ugly wearing the makeup, or is it also, like, I couldn't tell if it was that, or also she was feeling like she was selling out her convictions, because she was really trying to impress the guy in the picture putting on the makeup, and then she just stops, looks really upset, and I think it's because she doesn't look that good with the makeup on, because she over-applies it, but I also think maybe there's a little bit in there of, you know, I'm selling out my convictions as a feminist, who's just said previously that looks don't matter, but they do, possibly. And I know they do.
I don't know.
Anyway, when we saw that it was a Linda-centric episode, I think that was a cue to most of us when we were younger, at least for the boys, the men, to just grab the remote. You know, it's like, it's going to be one of those episodes. Like,
it wouldn't matter if it was just a Linda episode. It matters that it's a boring Linda episode.
It's that, look, it's kind of like Lisa Simpson episodes of The Simpsons. A lot of them can be good, but
most of them are bad.
Most of them are bad. Yeah, most of them are bad.
Are you trying to say that you're against equal opportunity in episodes?
No, it's just that, like, as a man, I don't want to watch that, but as a woman, maybe you want to watch Linda. I don't know. But still, it's like,
I think Linda episodes are boring no matter who you are.
I think so. Maybe because there's a lot of focus on the male characters, maybe because the writers are used to writing for men or something, and then just like female. What is a woman character supposed to do? Oh, she's got to go to a bush. Put on makeup. Yeah, that's what chicks do. That's what they do. They put on the makeup. Oh, and then they got to go to the bush for some reason.
Yeah, she's putting on makeup to impress this guy whose name is apparently Hugh Townsend.
Yeah, what's that?
Which is, I think, it's a pretty funny name. Is this a real person? Is he a current? Was he a celebrity in 1989 when this was made?
I don't know, but like I've heard the name Townsend before.
Yeah, but I wrote down Pete Townsend. I think that's a real person.
I'm pretty sure that's a real person. I'm pretty
Hugh Townsend, I think, is a fake person.
I'm going to agree with you and say that Pete Townsend's a real guy.
Who is Pete Townsend? Do you want to just offend all of our listeners who like Pete Townsend, whoever he may be?
I don't know. The lead singer of something?
The lead singer of a band called Broken Boat.
Yeah, okay, what?
I'm making things up.
Why Broken Boat?
I don't know. It sounded very Byron Bay. Byron Bay is like where all these trendy musicians come from, right?
I wouldn't have thought so. I thought, you know, some of the, like maybe now they do, but I'm sure that like the trendy musicians maybe started off in Melbourne or something.
Parkway Drive comes from Byron Bay, and
they're pretty popular. Yeah, they're pretty trendy. Yeah, they're really popular.
They are. It's just,
where did Savage Garden come from? Brisbane, right?
I don't know. I thought it was Melbourne.
There you go. There's the answer to your story.
Most of those weird kind of trendy things come from Melbourne, right?
Where did Silverchair come from?
Coffee.
Silverchair came from Queensland. I'm pretty sure that they came from
Queensland.
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
No,
Mackay?
I think they were in Brisbane. Gympie? I'm going to go Gympie. Just sticks out of my head.
So, Hugh Townsend, this popular pop culture icon of some description from Gympie.
Yep, from Gympie.
Has clearly impressed Linda. The weird thing about this was, her newspaper clipping says something about some sort of graduate thing.
Yeah, that was
like
weird.
Some school-related thing. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did. It was like some sort of graduate, and I was like, who is this guy?
Impressed by this guy who graduated school.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Like, would have made more sense like if the article had said something like, you know, Star graduates high school or something.
Environmental
Or
awareness
even that, yeah.
aid.
Environmental
Nobel Peace
activist.
Prize.
Environmental activist graduates with honours. I don't know why you would. Why the hell you would have that in the paper? That's not something worth reporting, right?
Judo male feminist wins environmental
Yeah.
award for saving gum trees.
Exactly, that would make sense. But graduates, well, this
Yeah,
guy graduated.
we're all speculating because neither of us wrote down what it actually said.
Yeah.
Linda's putting on the makeup. She's not very good at it.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. Is that trying to make an insult against her character to put that in the episode?
I don't think
Or is
so.
it like
So much.
because she's a feminist, is it like she doesn't put on makeup?
Yeah.
Is that
maybe.
what the thing is of this scene?
Probably. But like, she's very secretive about the fact that she has makeup.
Yeah.
Right? So, yes. And when she puts on the makeup too, she's probably not very good at it. And
Yeah.
we can tell by she applies way too much. And I'm not a girl, but from what I understand, you have to learn how to put on a makeup properly. It's a little bit of a skill and an art, you know, to be able to do it properly. So putting it on, you're going to put a shitload of makeup on, and you realise, oh man, my lips, I look like a clown. Well, of course, if you put too much lipstick on, you're going to look like a
Foreshadowing.
clown.
Is this foreshadowing a future episode?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The clown episode. It's
The
coming
clown.
up. A few weeks. I'm waiting.
I'm waiting too.
She comes out of her room. She's trying to cover up her face, and her brothers are there.
Yeah.
And she reveals her face or something, and her brothers shout out in shock
Yeah.
of how ugly she is, apparently. And she falls down the stairs of the lighthouse. She falls, like, pretty far.
Yeah,
A couple of flights she falls down.
You know, falls are pretty dangerous. They kill a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
How many?
Don't know how many, but it's like I mean, okay, usually it's senior citizens.
Yeah.
But even if you're young, falling down some stairs, you could crack your head open on the thing. You know, that's still bad.
Which she does. She manages to get away with only a broken nose, which is pretty good.
Yeah. And what's it? Broken her nose. She's falling down the stairs. All right. Oh no, she's had a concussion.
Yeah.
All right. What's the first? When do we first see Nell? When we meet her in the hospital.
Okay.
All right.
One thing we missed, which was pretty important, when Linda was putting on makeup, we hear the
We hear the
spooky
music,
music,
yeah.
but Nell's not there. First time, Nell's not there, we hear the spooky music.
Yep.
Sign or coincidence?
That's a sign. It's further proof of my theory.
No, it disregards your theory because Nell's not involved.
No.
How could they hear it if they're just figments of Nell's dream?
Well, see,
If she's not there to be the conduit.
You see, that's not. Yeah, Joseph, come on, man. It's just come on, please. You see, Linda and all the other characters are representations of maybe her.
Nell's consciousness.
Yeah. Now it's really hard to figure it out. I'm working through the theory, but it's either that or it's still some sort of weird purgatory thing, and because Nell's a secret angel, she doesn't really hear it. But I'm going with the coma theory. That's the theory I'm sticking with right now. All right.
We have a couple of theories about Nell here on the show.
Well, I have a couple of
You
theories.
have a couple of theories.
Okay.
One of them is that Nell is a guardian angel for the twists.
Yes,
and
in
that
purgatory.
The twists are in purgatory.
Yeah.
The other one is that Nell's in a coma, a la Life on Mars, or something like that, and she keeps hearing this music in an attempt to wake her up.
Yeah.
And everything that happens is kind of weird things happening in Nell's dream of her trying to remember her real life and trying
For
to
all we
wake up
know,
into
Linda
that.
falling down the stairs might have just been Nell falling down the stairs.
What, in real life? I thought she was a coma in real life.
Yeah, I know. That's how she got in the coma. She fell down the stairs of the lighthouse.
Okay.
Alright? So like maybe Linda, because remember, she said she was never married, right? Nell said she was never married.
Yes.
Okay? Now, Linda's a feminist, as I said. Now, my opinion is
Is
that...
Linda Nell?
Yeah, that's what I reckon. I reckon Linda is a personification of Nell's independent streak.
Okay.
Alright? Which is why, as well, this episode's about, you know, looks shouldn't matter, but they do, which is told by... In the future coma, we learn, you know, because she goes into that sort of weird... She goes under... Nell plays Linda's aunt in another dream, in a second dream level.
We'll get onto that.
We'll get onto that.
We'll get into the inception levels of Gumleaf Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But we get Linda in the hospital. She's broken her nose. Her family's there. Nell's there for some reason.
She just is.
She just is. I don't know.
Well,
the
we
Gribbles
know
are
why,
there
but...
because the wife Gribble owns the hospital, who I believe is still unnamed, at least to my knowledge. Matron.
Matron, we call her Matron.
She's saying, oh, yep, you've got a broken nose, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Gribble wants to buy the lighthouse because it's dangerous. He wants, let me take it off your hands. I've got a contract right here. We'll take it off your hands. We'll do it real cheap. We'll do it right now. You can't live in a lighthouse. That's bad. I want to build something there.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe Mr. Gribble's a good guy. Like
Maybe.
I know he's seeing profit, but it's like maybe Nell he really does need to sell the lighthouse.
So you think Nell's living in the lighthouse by herself in the real world?
Yeah, falls
and
down.
She falls down. She's hurt herself. That's why she's in a coma.
Yep.
And this dream...
See, if Gribble, if she sold the house to Gribble, right,
Yeah.
that the lighthouse would leave, she'd be able to leave paradise. She wouldn't have a place to rest her head no more. So she'd be able to come out of the coma. But Gribble's always being portrayed as a bad guy. Because,
Yes.
well, I don't know, maybe the coma demons want to keep her in there. I don't know how coma demons work. I'm not a comaologist. But
Comaologist. If you are a comaologist,
Yeah.
feel free to write in and tell us about
how
comas.
do coma fantasies work?
Gribble is trying to buy the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Linda goes in for an operation because her nose is in pretty bad shape, and the doctor drugs her.
Yeah.
And she says right before she goes under
Yeah.
into her drug state, she says, if we can't fix it, I'm going to run away.
Yeah.
Cut to, she's on a train, and what's she doing?
She's running away.
She's running away because they couldn't fix her nose. Her nose is in really bad shape. It's all swelled up at the front. It looks like they've just like stuck a ball, like one of those red noses, on the end of her nose, and then coloured that to her skin colour.
I found it weird that she said she was going to run away, and I'm just like, you can't run away from paradise.
Well,
That's what
she
I was
clearly did.
Well, she clearly didn't. I mean, we know she doesn't. Like, I'm sorry, but like, just like they put her under, and then she's like, oh, if you stuff up my nose, I'll run away. And then she's got a big nose, and she's running away on the train. But the fact is, it's a dream right away because they didn't have like her reveal her nose in the hospital and then run away. It was just cut straight to the train.
Yeah,
it's like
it's one of these Wizard of Oz type things because we've got people from the actual episode playing versions of themselves or playing other characters in this kind of what clearly is a dreamlike state. Instead of in Wizard of Oz where we have it all go from black and white to all colour.
The thing is, though, like
we go from
Wizard of Oz, though, there's a tornado, right? There's an event that makes the transition.
This is the drug.
Yeah, but the drugs
it's
are
like
so
in
obvious.
Return to Wizard of Oz when they electroshock her.
Yeah, but drugs put you to sleep. Yeah, but the thing is, when you watch Return to Wizard of Oz,
you already know.
You already know the answer. Whereas a tornado, you're not really sure that it's supposed to knock you out. So you could believe that. But if you go under, you're going to assume, okay, that guy's being put to sleep.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't this be a dream? That makes perfect sense to me.
It's very clear that it's a dream.
Yeah, exactly. They could have done it way differently, in my opinion.
The first thing that gives it away is that she's sitting next to Hugh Townsend.
Yeah.
Who just happens to be... I think it's Hugh Townsend. I have very bad facial memory.
Yeah, I think that's
so
what it's
really
supposed
hard
to be.
For me to...
I think it was, because, she's like, oh, you look ugly. Hugh Townsend's like, oh, you look awful. But at the end of the episode, when her nose is fixed, he's like, oh, you look really good. He's like, oh, you look cold or something.
Yeah,
Let me warm you up with my body or something.
Yeah, he tries to hit on her later. But we're talking about now.
We're talking about now, not later.
Hugh Townsend goes and makes comment that her nose is all monged up.
What an asshole.
The other person on the train, if it wasn't obvious enough that it was a dream, I'm pretty sure is the doctor.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
He's wearing like a bushranger hat.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, the bushfires, they're coming soon. Pretty dangerous to be up in this part of the country.
The thing is, if it's so obvious that it's a dream, they might as well have just done that thing where they do like the warping video.
Colours.
And it's like, oh, this is clearly a dream.
We'll have a couple of midgets show up and dance around.
We represent the Lollipop Guild.
Nell comes to pick up Linda from the train station.
Yeah.
And she's in a carriage. Now, Nell, I think, is supposed to be American. She's playing this auntie of Linda's called Aunt Tuneless. And I think she's supposed to be American. Do you think this was true? She's putting on some sort of accent. It becomes very difficult to work out what this accent is supposed to be in several of the scenes.
Look, I think that she was trying to put on an accent to try to make people go, oh, this isn't Nell, to the audience to go, this isn't Nell, by the way. Because like that, you're like, oh, what is Nell doing here in this dream? That's the biggest thing that gives away. Like, you could
But it's clear because she's wearing a different hat. Normally she wears like a lighthouse hat.
So you tell the difference wearing a different hat. Hang on, I've got to find a hat.
This scene, in this episode, she's wearing a bush hat, with flowers on it. Anthony has just left the podcast, come back, and oh my goodness, I'm sitting next to Santa Claus.
Oh, hello, Joseph. Have you seen Anthony around? Oh.
I have not seen Anthony around.
Surprise was
it's
the whole
Anthony!
time.
Oh my goodness. It was him the whole time.
They just give it away. My point is that Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's wearing a different hat, but obviously you need to have a different accent.
Yes.
Because then, maybe if you didn't think it was a dream at that point, like, I guess you could go along with it and think, oh, they just don't have the budget for, other actors. No, I can believe that.
They're doing a point here by having it be Nell, I think.
Yeah.
Unless they just couldn't get any more actors, because we rarely see other characters that aren't
The messed up thing is, though,
characters.
with, like, take Wizard of Oz, right?
Yes.
I'm fairly confident, I haven't seen it in a while, but, like, you don't either, see the characters that
No,
are,
you
like...
see them beforehand.
Well, you don't see them that long enough. You
Yeah.
don't see them, like... We've been with these characters for the last 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So we know what most of them look like. The Doctor being that the Bushranger was a good one, because if you didn't have a keen eye, you would have missed that. I didn't see that. Like, I wasn't 100% sure.
I don't think he was a bushranger. That would become a very different episode if the Doctor was a bushranger.
Whatever
He's
he
just a
is.
guy wearing a hat.
Oh, he's a...
He was wearing a different hat again.
He looked like Steve Owen.
A little bit.
Sort of like Steve Owen,
Did
yeah.
Steve Owen wear a hat? I don't think he did.
Well, he looked like Steve Owen and Crocodile Dundee without Crocodile Dundee hat.
You're only saying that because he was wearing a hat.
Yeah, Crocodile Dundee wears a hat.
Crocodile.
The difference between Steve Owen and Crocodile Dundee is one wears a hat and the other doesn't.
The Australian characterization in film, television, any type of media is determined by what kind of hat that person is wearing.
Yeah, man.
The problem with Nell's accent, right?
Yeah.
Is that I don't have a problem with, it's a different person, she's having an accent. It's the fact that it wavers so much.
Yeah.
We start off with her being, I think, American.
Yeah.
We get a very clear Scottish accent.
Yeah.
We get at one part what I felt was Jamaican.
Thing is, like you ever have someone who's not very good at accents, like...
Yeah, me.
I'm not very good at accents either.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at putting them on. For some reason, I have an American accent sometimes. This is the first time we reveal on a podcast. Don't know why, but sometimes I just say things like colour. That wasn't intentional, but I say weird stuff like that and it comes out American.
Yes.
Scottish and Jamaican sound so similar if you're terrible at accents. Because
Yes.
you're Scottish devolves into Jamaican so easy.
That sounded
Right.
like neither. But
But
yes,
it was
I'll
going
take
into
your
the
point.
Scottish and oh, look at me, I'm Scottish, right? That's how it goes.
I think she also sounds Irish at one point,
Yeah,
which
well,
is kind of weird.
Yes, because, again, like, if you're bad at the I think she was supposed to be a Scottish American.
You know what I think she's trying to do?
What?
This is stretching a bit, and my memory's a bit poor, but in Man from Snowy River,
Yeah.
I think it was Man from Snowy River, there's one guy, an actor, I'm pretty sure plays two characters.
Yeah.
And one of them is American, and one of them is Scottish or something, I think.
Yeah. That could
Now,
be
that
it.
could be completely incorrect. Factually inaccurate.
Well, I feel like if she was going to be anybody, she would be Scottish. But she thinks she was American, though, or something.
It's weird that she is American.
'Cause,
Why
like,
is this
is she
American living in the middle of the bush
exactly,
being an
because
auntie to Linda?
it is stated that she is an American.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't
Like,
think so.
well, at least it's established enough as in the character that I saw it as well that she was American for some reason. Like, she's here for some reason, and I wasn't 100% sure why. You know, it was like, if she was an Australian, you wouldn't question why is the Australian living in the bush, but why is an American living in the bush? You're like, why is this American come all the way over to Australia to live in the bush? But the thing is, she couldn't, because remember, she's at war, which we haven't discussed.
Yeah.
She's at war with this guy and have been since they were children?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
I don't know.
Okay. Coma fantasies.
Plot. We're just going to refer to her as Nell. I'm not going to bother to refer to her as Aunt
Yep.
Tuneless, alright? Is that fine by you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like,
Nell picks up Linda and goes to take her to her house. Now, we find out here the reason that Linda's come to live with Nell is because that she thinks that Nell is quite rich, okay? She's got a mansion, she's got 2 TVs, 2 fridges, a couple of cars.
really?
Yeah, this is what they say.
That's ridiculous.
So she's come to live with Nell because she's quite rich and she wants to be comfortable out here in the outback.
She's full of it.
Yeah, it's more of this looks don't matter, but except they do thing
Yeah.
that the episode's trying to tell us.
That's weird then, because it's just like, is that like her saying that maybe it's not just that looks don't matter, it's the facade of having
Material.
good... Well, the facade of having looks, because the idea that people think that you're wealthy, when it's very apparent that if you're living in the middle of the bush, you might be very wealthy.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have a lot of TVs and a lot of cars, and if you do, the utility function of them is... They're not
Right.
there. Like, what can you watch? You watch Impaja or
Yeah,
something?
you can watch Impaja.
Yeah, you can watch Impaja. That's fantastic. You can download at a very slow rate. I mean, if you want to go there, you go there to escape technology and just relax, you know, and live out a life on a nice farm. You don't go there and have a Ferrari.
You don't go there to watch Big Bang Theory.
if you go,
repeats in the middle of the day.
to the bush with your Ferrari, you deserve to go get broken down, alright? Okay.
Fair. Nell drives Linda on her carriage past Gribble's house. Now we see Gribble Jr. playing a different character. I think the name was Foxy?
I think the Gribbles were called Foxy.
Yes.
Right. Which I like as well because it related to she's a fox.
Okay.
You know, right at the start. I was like, here's another more, get it?
Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
Gribble Jr. is playing the harmonica.
Mm-hmm. Which has reminded me a lot of,
What?
What's that movie?
Gallipoli.
No, but instead of a harmonica, it's a banjo.
Banjo.
Julian Banjo.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie. That's what it was. No, somebody knows what it is. They're probably, if they're listening, they're
What
yelling.
movie?
Alright, it's one where, like, they go on a canoe trip, and there's some weird people...
Without a paddle.
No.
What?
Okay, they go on a canoe...
fine movie.
That's a fine movie. They go on a canoe trip, and then they get raped, by these bush guys.
Deliverance.
It's Deliverance. Thank you. So it reminded me of Deliverance, except without the dueling banjos and the rape.
Well, I think some of that happens in Without a Paddle.
I don't know. I never saw it Without a Paddle.
Didn't you see Without a Paddle?
No, it looked really bad.
It is really bad.
Well, that's why
it's
I didn't
kind of worth it. They're going in the carriage past the Foxy house, and Nell pulls out some earphones and says, "Okay, here, you better wear these."
Earmuffs.
Muffs, yeah.
Otherwise, people are going to get really confused.
Muff is different to phone when we're talking about ear appendages.
Yeah. Earmuffs are very different, and they have earmuffs. Headphones, I feel, are wrong because people will go think that, putting...
They're listening to music.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas they're trying to avoid listening to music.
Exactly, yeah.
Instead of actively listening to music.
Mm-hmm. Muff is very different to phones.
Muff is very different to phones. Very different function. A mustached gribble...
What's that? A mustache scribble.
A mustached gribble comes out outside, and he starts trying to play the gum leaf at Linda and Nell because he wants Nell's house.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar?
Sounds very familiar. It sounds like a lighthouse to me.
He's trying to give her some... Well, we'll talk about that a bit later, but he's trying to do something bad to Nell to take her house.
Do you notice they play music?
Yeah, they're playing... What song was it? I couldn't work out what it was.
I don't know what it was, but I thought it was Gumleaf's song. Because I had no idea what they were trying to play, but they're playing music just like the Lighthouse.
Yeah, I think that...
I don't see how that's not incorporated.
Reaching.
I don't think it's reaching. I mean, why would they be playing music? That's really weird.
It is... Well, what else are they going to be able to play with a gum leaf?
They don't play with gum leaves. Just stop.
What would
just
it be
cut
instead?
It would just be called the carcass, the dung heap wars. She's throwing...
If they get hit by a piece of dung...
Well, like, the dung is like they throw dung at each other's houses to the point where like they get covered in... Well, they could both throw dung at each other.
He throws...
They call it ammo, right?
Yeah, he throws cow skulls at her.
Yeah.
You'd think it would be very hard to accumulate a lot of ammunition, a lot of cow skulls. Like, how many cows need to die so you can shoot? Whereas Nell's shooting the dung, which is a lot easier to accumulate.
Well, I feel like a skull would probably do a lot more damage, and is a lot more terrifying. Oh, maybe it's not that terrifying. I mean, getting dung thrown at you...
had one thrown at you...
Yeah, it's like, it's happening.
It's a skull.
And what's worse is, like, their catapults aren't really calibrated all that well. So, like, they don't ever really hit each other.
They're in the bush. What kind of calibration equipment do they have out here?
I don't know, push it a bit forward.
Nell, they go past the Gribble house.
Yeah.
And Nell warns Linda, don't go down there, stay away from them, and also stay away from these double gum trees.
Yep.
You stay there. There's two gum trees.
Do not take from the
right
fruit
next to
from
each
those
other.
gum trees.
Yeah, do not eat the fruit of life. Mm-hmm. Nell arrives at her house with Linda and says, okay, here's my mansion, here's my 2 fridges, here's my 2 TVs. It's basically a dump. All the stuff's broken. Mm-hmm. Why does she have all of this stuff?
Because, I don't know, she's a hoarder.
Probably not.
She's probably not a hoarder. She's probably like, if it's broken,
yes.
I don't know what you do with a television when it's broken, but they're old CRT televisions. Yes. You could probably just keep them there for their spare wiring or whatever. Maybe she's in the bush, maybe she just likes to do that stuff. Maybe she uses them to prop up a coffee table.
No, but they're just lying around in her yard.
She's got a lot of yard space. Like, she's not a hoarder in the classical sense because she's just got a lot of shit in her yard. Fridges, though. Were they in her yard as well? Or were they in the house?
Fridges?
Yeah, she had fridges?
Yeah, in her yard.
Oh, okay, because like fridges serve at least, like, could be shelves if you wanted to use them as shelves.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't know what else would you do with them? That's a good question too. Like, you could go to a dump, right?
Yeah.
Well, what do you do?
No dump nearby.
What do you do with the television?
I don't know. Leave it in your yard.
Exactly.
Like Nell did.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I've got this TV here. I'll just leave it there. Why doesn't she throw TVs at the Gribbles?
You think that would be something good to actually...
That would hurt. Like, that would go straight through his house. Tell you what.
So, one of the important things we were supposed to mention but didn't, all of the characters in this part of the episode, in the Wizard of Oz fantasy land, if you will, what they have here, they're wearing kind of old-timey, western-y clothes.
Yeah.
And it's got a weird kind of colour filter, colour grade over it to make it look like it was set back then.
I don't think that was a good effect at all.
It didn't look amazing. It made a point.
It just made it look dull.
It's kind of browned out a little bit, but
like they should have made it more just yellow, it was a sepia tone, right?
Yes,
but like it was just brown, and that just made things like dull and boring to look at.
Kind of.
That's my opinion, though. But I mean,
it's a bomb raid.
Yep, bomb raid.
Yep, Linda and Nell are running around. Oh no, something's coming! It's a cow skull, and it lands on the ground near one of the fridges.
Yeah,
and Nell said, "Oh look, it's old mate. He's shooting at us again." And we see Gribble down at his house, and he's loading up his catapult with more cow skulls, and he's really angry for some reason.
Yeah.
The rest of the twists show up at the Gribble's house. So we got Tony, the dad, Pete, and Bronson. They show up and they say, "Oh, we're looking for Aunt Tuneless." Tony has become obsessed with Gribble's pile of skulls, and he says, "What do you call this? This is a great sculpture." And Gribble says, "It's ammo." And Tony says, "Samo? This is a great sculpture. Very Japanese influenced."
I think it's just the name, yeah. Bloody hell.
Well, the joke is it wasn't a sculpture, it was just him stacking up ammo.
I like that. I really like that joke, though. It's like,
It works a lot better when you actually see it and not have it described.
It's really awesome, too, because remember, like, it totally reflects, like, the art culture.
Kind
of.
Paul Jennings mustn't be a fan of artists, because he's constantly making jabs.
He is. It's like, you know, you look at the stuff, and I agree, actually, the stuff that Gribble had as ammo was the exact same caliber as some of the stuff that, well, actually, a lot of the stuff Tony had. I mean, remember, Tony paints with baked beans.
Yes.
Right? So, I guess maybe that's his way of saying, you know what, Western artists, you know, artists in Melbourne, they are just way too, I don't know, up
pie in the sky.
Yeah, too pie in the sky. They're up themselves to the point where you could literally have garbage, and it would be art.
The twist, they're trying to get to Aunt Tuneless, and he says, "Do you know where Aunt Tuneless is?" And the Gribble, Mr. Foxy, whatever his name is, says maybe. Tony gives him some money, and he says yes. Tony goes, "What do you mean yes?" And he says, "Yes, I know where she is." But then he tells her, "Oh look, she's just up on that hill. You can actually see her from where you're standing."
City slickers, eh?
So they get back into their car and they drive up the hill.
Did you notice the paper currency?
Was it paper?
Yeah, he was giving him some paper, like some money, but like it didn't look like
our currency only changed fairly recently.
Yeah, but not that recently. Like
it was 90s, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what did our $10 bill look like beforehand? Because I think he gave him a 10.
Note. It's a note in Australia.
Bill,
not a bill.
Bill, note,
dollar
whatever.
Bills.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah, they changed the plastic stuff that we have today in the 90s, I think, right?
I guess so. I remember that the $50 note, maybe, and the $100 note were like the last to change. I remember the ads for those.
Really?
Yeah, I remember they were like, some guy had like his thing and he'd flick the plastic and he'd be like, "You know it's true," or something. And I'd be like, "Oh, this is great."
You can actually tear them. It was a big thing when they were introduced, I believe, that you couldn't tear them.
Yeah. You can totally tear $20.
I think it's because they're so thin. Because it's made out of the same stuff as milk cartons, right? Not cardboard milk cartons, obviously. Plastic milk cartons. What is it? Polyethylene? It's not. Is it ethylene?
I don't know. I'm not a plastic maker. I don't know. I didn't study hard enough. I didn't study hard enough. I could have been, a plastic maker, but now I'm just a bum, which is what I am.
The twists show up at Aunt Tuneless's house, and they're trying to get Linda to come with them, and they said, "Don't worry, Bronson says, "Don't worry, you're only a little bit ugly. Why don't you come back with us?"
Good on
and
you, Bronson.
Linda is up on the roof. She's cleaning the gutters or something, and she goes, "Stay back, I'll jump." What can you read into this? I think this is my theory, right? Mm-hmm. This is what I think this whole episode is about. I think this whole episode is about eating disorders.
Yeah.
Okay?
I can see that.
So she is not feeling confident in her body. Mm-hmm. And she's very upset, and she's threatening to end her life when they want to bring her back to normalcy.
Yeah, I guess you could read into it like that, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not eating disorders. Maybe it's just the broader body dysmorphia.
Probably.
As a thing, because it's like
eating disorders is more hot topic, though.
I suppose it's I don't know if it's hot topic. I mean,
sure it is. They're always hot topic.
Oh yeah, of course, it's always hot. But it's like I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I actually kind of agree with you because it's like she has an image of herself. She thinks that she's ugly.
Yep.
And this is the thing. She doesn't want to accept herself for what she looks now. She wants to isolate herself because she feels ugly.
Yeah.
So that's the issue there. Not so much that they want to bring her back or something. I don't know.
So she jumps off the roof.
What's up with that too, right? To the point of like suicide. Like it is revealed later on that it turns out she jumps on up
straight away.
It's
like 30 seconds.
Straight away.
Less than 30 seconds.
No, it's not even that. It's like 3 seconds. It's like she jumps and then she pops back up.
Yeah.
So it's like you can tell it's like a trampoline, but it turns out it's actually a bed.
It's a bed with springs. Yeah.
Which that would not work.
Well, you couldn't bounce as high as she was doing. There was obviously some sort of trampoline.
Frame. Like, have you ever landed on springs?
No.
On a trampoline, really? Pulls your skin and stuff,
yeah,
right?
it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts like hell. There's no way that's going to work. But regardless, it's still really weird that she's like...
She knew the bed was there.
Yeah, but it's weird that we had to go through that. That was like... Her dad would have been like, oh my god. Like, think about this. This is his only daughter about to kill herself.
It's a one-story house. She's not going to die.
Alright, you have a kid, and then your kid you get your kid to
You're going to break your leg at most.
Yeah, well, you don't want your kids to fucking break their legs, do you?
If you land really badly, you could probably break your spine.
What about all the bad stuff in the bloody yard? What if it lands on a spike? They might die or get tetanus or something. We're in the bush.
Yeah. She runs into the bush, away from her family. She doesn't want to go back to normalcy. Well, as much as paradise is normal.
Yeah.
Gribble is here with his son. They're doing whatever. And Linda... They see Linda come here or something.
Yeah.
And Gribble's got a black eye, right? And he starts playing the gum leaf music. And he transfers through the music, because Linda hears it, he transfers his black eye through to Linda.
Yeah.
So Linda gets upset and she runs away. We're back with Nell and the twists, and Nell says that Linda doesn't want to return because of looks. Mm-hmm. Okay? And she says, it shouldn't matter what you look like, but it does.
Yeah.
So this is, as we were saying, this is the key point of the episode. It shouldn't matter what you look like, but it does matter.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird message to be sending children in the late 80s.
I don't know. It's true, though. But it's not like it's a resolved thing where it's like, it shouldn't matter, but it does. But it really shouldn't matter. It
shouldn't matter, so you've got to deal with it.
Yeah, it's something that you should learn to deal with.
Yeah.
You shouldn't let it be a part of yourself. But they don't really do that, at all. Like,
we'll come back to this when we get to the end of the episode.
But it is, I agree, it's a bad message to send kids. It's
is it, though? It just
Look, it's not the
encourages you to deal with reality.
Yeah, but
it shouldn't matter, sure.
If you're pretty, right? If you were pretty or attractive, you wouldn't. But if you're ugly, if looks do matter, then it's like, well, what do I do about it? Do I take a knife to myself to cut out the abscess?
No,
or something?
Yeah, it means you just deal with it. Is what it's saying. So it's like, I'm not the most attractive man in the world, but it doesn't mean that I have to go and live in the bush with my aunt tuneless.
But that's the thing. I should deal with it. It does matter. They don't have that closure. It's more that that's what they should have had in the episode. They should have had a bit more closure. Like it doesn't. It does matter, but you shouldn't let it be a big deal.
The twists leave.
Yeah.
And Linda pops up. She was hiding and listening to this whole thing. Nell explains to Linda that music can translate the injuries. So she shoots some cow dung at the Gribbles.
Yeah.
That's her ammunition. Nell, after shooting some, she gets really excited. She does a lot of running around in this episode.
She's really
I was quite concerned for the actress, Nell, because she's pretty old, and she was like running around.
Yeah, and this is probably back when there were some safety standards, but there weren't that many safety standards. Like, enough to be like, oh, jeez.
Well, I'm worried about this old lady.
Yeah, don't worry about you. She'll be fine. If she falls, she signed a waiver. It's okay. It probably explains why they changed the actress every couple of seasons.
Well, they changed her. Well, she's the same in 1 and 2, but I believe she died, and then they have a different one for 3 and 4.
That's sad, isn't it?
It happens. Yeah. She's old.
It's like that guy from, what's his name?
Which one?
Silicon Valley?
Yeah, he died like halfway through the season.
He dies like halfway through the season, yeah.
Yeah.
They have to replace him.
Well, they didn't replace him, they just didn't have him in the episode.
They just keep referring to him as...
Yeah, it kind of ruined it, because he was kind of the funniest guy.
Yeah, I liked him, yeah, he was good.
Nell falls in a hole after shooting some cow dung, and she hurts her ankle. She goes, "Oh, this is great." She gets up, and she takes Linda to go and get a gum leaf. They then sneak up on the Gribble house. Junior Gribble sees her coming, and blocks his ears with some sort of ear-blocking device. Mr. Gribble is preparing ammo, and Nell gets right up to him with the music, and hits him, and gives him her broken ankle.
Do you think maybe that, Gribble not actually saying anything to his father, do you think that maybe Gribble Jr. doesn't like the war either? Like, is tired of all the war?
I think it was just a joke.
I don't know, because like, it seems really weird that he wouldn't go, there's our arch foe.
Yeah.
Or even just, hey dad, there's a person trying to give you an injury. Put your ears in. Because could you imagine what would happen next? It would be, why didn't you tell me that she was there? Blah, 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 blah.
Maybe.
Let me get my belt off and I'll smack you around the head. Probably.
Maybe he was just used to the beatings and he thought he'd get one either way. So he's like, whatever. I'm just going to
inflict pain on my father because he inflicts pain on me.
Yep. Kind of dark.
This is very dark. We're going down a dark hole. Let's get out of this hole, mate.
Nell then explains to Linda, you can't pass illnesses back. So if you give someone a broken ankle or whatever, they can't give that back to you or to anyone else.
Yeah.
You also can't use the gum leaf twice.
Yeah.
And this war between Nell and Mr. Gribble has been going on since they were children.
That's interesting.
Does this have any relevance to your Nell theory? Gribble and Nell known each other since children?
Not really. I haven't been able to work that into my Nell theory, but I think it might.
Maybe.
Later on, I actually didn't pick up the rules until later on. Like, I didn't understand exactly how the things work. I thought it just caused injury.
Yeah.
So I didn't see that they transferred the industries.
Injuries,
yeah, not the industries.
Yeah, they're transferring coal mining.
Coal mining and bringing back iron or something.
Nell comes to help with...
there's a bushfire, mate.
Here. There's a bushfire
at
Foxy's place, the Gribble house. Mm-hmm. Nell goes down to help with Hessian sacks.
Of what?
Empty ones. They're like beating it out. Have you never fought a fire before?
I never fought one with Hessian sacks.
Oh, it's like if you have something that's dry, you can just quash it out because it doesn't give it
I would have thought Hessian would be the worst material.
I don't know. It's some sort of sack. Yeah. Let's not nitpick the notes that I've taken from the episode, right?
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
The Gribble man.
Yeah.
He says thank you, and Nell says, "I'd have done the same for a dingo." Clearly, Nell doesn't have a high opinion of dingoes here.
That's true, yeah.
What did they do to her, honestly? They didn't take her baby.
They might have taken her baby.
Maybe they did. Maybe that's why she's in a coma.
Maybe that's what, it could be it. She fell down the stairs and then Dingo took her baby when she was her legs were broken.
The bushfires have ravaged the area.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. They fight the fire, manage to stop it from burning down the house, but everything is burnt, everything is black. Linda says, the war's over, we can all be friends and not have any more gum tree fights. Then Nell and Gribble go, the gum tree, we better go and save it.
Yeah.
They rush there. The Twists show up again, for some reason.
Yeah.
The Twist family show up in their car. And there's one gum leaf left on the tree. Yeah. And so the two Gribbles and Nell, they rush to get the one leaf. And it falls off and it kind of lands next to Linda and she grabs it. The Twists want her to come home really bad. And Nell and Gribble want the leaf really bad. So they can inflict injuries on each other, blah, blah, blah. Linda falls down. And then she goes, wait. And then she uses her gum leaf. She plays some music. And what happens here is that Nell and the Gribbles quickly cover their ears. And she accidentally gives her family her giant nose by accident.
Yeah.
We cut from this to the train home. Yeah. Her nose is fixed because she's given it to her family. Yeah. I don't know why she took the train here. Why didn't she just go in the car with her family?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's a dream, so...
Yeah, it is a dream.
Logic is really hard sometimes, but, yeah.
The guy, Hugh Townsend, he likes her nose now.
He's like,
You've got a great nose.
You've got a great nose.
He's hitting on her to be creepy. The Dr. Drugs, he says, I told you about the bushfires. The gum leaves will grow back again in about 6 months. Now, Linda screams as if this is some kind of tragedy. She's not even going to be there. I don't know why it matters.
She's against war, I guess.
Like,
maybe she thought, this was the lasting moment of peace now that they've cooperated. And, form of, disarmament?
Yeah.
I
guess.
Nuclear proliferation. I don't know. But in 6 months' time, they'll be back at it again. Because why? Because war...
What is it good for?
War never changes. That's what I was going to say.
Absolutely nothing.
I've been waiting to say that since the end.
War never changes.
War never changes.
Linda wakes up in hospital. Her family's all there, including Nell.
Yeah.
She asks them all to take their masks off because they're wearing masks for some reason. She had a nose operation. What is the risk
Nell
here?
is wearing a mask as well, which doesn't make any sense. Because remember, she covered her ears, technically. So we
know that her nose was not inflicted.
We know that for a fact. So it's why she doesn't have the thing on makes no sense. Because they're wearing dust masks.
Yeah.
Which
they're not even hospital
They're not
masks.
hospital grade. And I don't think the hospital would be like, yeah, you should totally wear those dust masks. I don't even think that they wear those masks.
She had a nose operation. What is the risk here? Honestly, it's all sealed.
Yeah, and if anything, they're bringing in those dust masks.
Yeah.
They haven't been treated or anything along those lines. They're probably stuff that's just been opened in the packet. They could bring in sawdust or some other MDF board or something along those lines. Boom. All of a sudden, it goes up her nostrils, that it causes an infection in her sinuses, and that would be horrible.
So everyone takes off their masks. All their noses are normal, but we reveal that Linda is holding a gum leaf.
Yeah,
which doesn't matter because you can only use it once.
Yeah, still, it doesn't. It's even worse though because she's holding a gum leaf. So it's like, so did that actually happen?
No, it was just around the twist. Oh, spooky ending.
Yeah, but
it didn't actually happen.
Where'd she get the gum leaf? Where'd she get the gum leaf from?
It materialized. Well, if we take your theory, right?
Yeah.
It was easy for that to happen because of the Inception dream layers.
Yeah.
So we have the real world, where Nell is in a coma.
Yeah.
Then we have the next layer down, which is Paradise or Lighthouse Land.
Yeah.
Where Nell lives in a house next to the lighthouse where the twists live.
And then the music is played in the real world to try to wake up Nell.
Yeah, which filters down to Lighthouse Land.
Yep.
Now,
Coma 2.
Linda, inside of Lighthouse Land, who is a fictional character of Nell's coma dream, falls down the stairs, breaks her nose, and then creates another dream layer in which Nell is a fantasized version of herself.
Yeah, no, Nell is actually fantasizes that she is Linda in this dream. Because remember, it's
she's seeing herself the way that she thinks that Linda would see her.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that's Gumleaf Land.
That's Gumleaf Land, yeah.
Which is the third layer down.
Which uses music to try to inflict injury on one another, yeah.
Yeah, because this is her version of what's happening in the real world, because she's conflicted about going back to the real world because she's obviously had some tragedies, like we've talked about in past episodes, where her family have... A lot of her family have died. She's got about 12 brothers, and they're all dead and ghosts.
Yeah.
In Lighthouse Land, but in the real world, they must just be dead. So in this layer, she thinks that going back to her reality in real world is a bad thing. So she associates the music in a Lighthouse Land as a negative thing, which then manifests itself in Gumleaf Land as a weapon. Because
that makes
music
is trying to drag her back to the real world. She doesn't want to deal with their problems.
Yes.
Yeah. And, of course, Linda, being her independent self, is her independent streak. She never got married. It's not just because that Nell is an independent character. It's also because she feels guilt and the fact of the belief that looks don't matter, shouldn't matter, but they do. And she feels like maybe that because she didn't look good enough, maybe she had a love interest that left her. Or maybe she couldn't find love. Maybe she's always wanted to, kind of, but she's remained single because she's always had this negative self-concept about herself until the point where she's too old that she's just given up the whole idea of dating.
Okay.
So that's her trying to deal with that problem.
So when she, as Linda, emerges back to Lighthouse Land from her dream state, she's then clutching a gum leaf because...
I'm not sure why she's clutching the gum leaf, but potentially maybe it's to...
Because it's all part of the dream and
it's all part of the dream. It's to carry through and try to... Maybe it's like tearing of layers or something.
Yeah, so Nell, it's kind of like a transference mechanism.
Yeah.
So she can then, as herself, see the gum leaf in Linda's hand and see that, oh yes, it was me in that, but it wasn't me. It was me as Linda in that land.
Yeah.
But it wasn't technically me. Therefore, the gum leaf wasn't in my hand.
Now that
it was in
Linda's resolved her
hand.
problem, potentially the other main members of the twists, right? Once each of those have resolved a particular issue, that'll be her resolving those issues, and then she can hear the music, come out of the dream world into the real world.
So you saying that that Nell, all of the twists are manifests of her? I would say, wouldn't they be like her family?
I'm not sure.
I would say they'd be indicators of her family. So she has, well, obviously she has more than 2 brothers, but she has 2 brothers in Lighthouse, as Linda, the Linda version of Nell in Lighthouse Land has 2 brothers and a father, which we know that she definitely has, right?
Yeah.
So she's got them, and Linda is her version that she can interact with.
What if
even
Nell,
though she's there as herself?
What if Nell was Tony Twist's wife, but in reversed? She didn't die. Their family died long ago. Then she lost out.
Oh.
Basically, never married. Then fell into the coma. Reimagined Tony Twist and his kids as their.
This is getting rough. I don't think
know if that
so.
one's gonna come through.
My preferred. I like this coma theory, but I think
it's looking good, isn't it?
I think Linda is her version of herself as a kid.
Yeah.
And Linda's brothers, Pete and Bronson, are manifestations of Nell's brothers, and Tony Twist is a manifestation of her dad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like she exists in this coma world, but so does herself as a teenager.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She can interact. Like did you ever watch Life on Mars?
No, I never watched Life on Mars.
Well, he exists in this world in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
But it's around the time that he was born, I think, so he can interact with like his dad and stuff.
Yeah.
But he is. I don't think he's in it. But if he was born, he would be able to interact with him because he would exist in that world.
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, good. Coma theory.
Yeah. So that's that. Well, there was something else I wanted to talk about as well. Oh yes, the message of the episode.
Yes.
What was it? Looks don't matter except they do. Anything else you want to add on that before we wrap?
Not really. Nothing else really. I mean, looks don't matter, but they do. You could translate it as well with the war sort of thing. Maybe it's not about looks itself. Maybe it's about the impression or how you're perceived by the world. So, like on a larger macroscopic scale, like you need to be brave.
That's interesting.
You need, take right now currently Russia is a good example. Russia needs to give the presence of being brave or being strong, even under economic sanctions. Right? If it shows weakness, then it looks very weak, and the support for it might fall. Right?
Yeah.
Not the idea. What it should be is like the world should be a case where it's like, hey, it shouldn't matter how you perceive, but it does, because people can screw you over if you look like you're easy to take advantage of.
This is very interesting because I watched a bunch of stuff on the weekend and read about a bunch of stuff that was talking about the Russian way of politics. There's this one guy, I can't remember his name, but he's kind of like the key Russian political strategist and for Putin, who apparently, I don't know if this is true, but apparently he comes from this high art background.
Yeah.
And so he's taken concepts from art and brought them to politics.
Really?
And basically those concepts are you're subverting reality with your art to distract.
Yeah.
So what this program was saying that they do in Russian politics is they have this, I don't even know the words to describe this, but they subvert reality in their politics. So this one guy, he'll go and support a whole bunch of parties. So he'll go and support like these neo-Nazis and he'll support like far left-wing activists and he'll support all this stuff, and everyone gets like really confused,
like,
and the opposition gets really confused because so the opposition can't actually work out what the main party is actually doing to be able to come up with a cohesive argument against that, because the reality is so shifting and never actually solid that they can't combat what doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Anyway, applying that to Around the Twist, looks don't matter, but they do.
Yeah.
You could apply that to the Russian thing.
I apply it
you could also because it doesn't matter what's actually happening because it's what under that what means is actually happening. But it does matter what's actually happening, because if you don't understand that, then you can't make adequate reactions.
Well, exactly. Because take Russia.
Yeah.
You would think that it's a very easy country to, like a very strong country, you wouldn't want to invade it, you wouldn't want to take it out. Yes, it's true that you can't win a land war in Russia if you're not prepared, but it's actually a very easy to invade country. Because, at least from Eastern Europe it is, because of the Polish funnel, right? The European plainlands make it, like, really easy to march troops straight from, I think, like, is it, what's the capital of Poland? I can't remember what Poland is. We'll just say from Germany. Straight from Berlin through to Moscow.
Yeah.
There's no rivers or mountains or anything to get in the way of troop movement, so you could plow straight through. Right?
Yeah.
The only thing that saved Russia in the past was that they burned all their buildings, then moved back, waited for winter, and then just attacked.
Yeah.
So you have to give the impression of being really strong, otherwise people are going to take advantage of you. So looks shouldn't matter,
but they do. You could also apply that to, like, Game of Thrones and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like the whole Tyrion Lannister thing. Looks don't matter, but they do.
Yeah.
Like his stature and
just the Lannisters in general.
Yeah. Actually. Well, it doesn't matter what they actually look like in their appearance, but it totally does at the same time. We don't have enough time to get into that.
I was just talking about I just want to say that the Lannisters, because they're broke. At least in the most, we're talking about Game of Thrones,
in the TV show.
In the books, they're broke. Their silver mines have been exhausted.
Yeah.
So they owe a lot of money, but they still look like they're the wealthiest house, and they need to maintain that look.
Yeah, because if they
don't, then the throne is in jeopardy.
Yeah. Well, it's a very philosophical thing that Paul Jennings, for one of the most boring episodes, there's kind of a lot to think about here. But going back to the episode, looks don't matter, but they do. Do you want to apply this anymore to Nell, the whole Nell situation, or any of the other theories? The guardian angel?
Not thing? Really. I don't think there's. I don't think it can be applied, but I didn't dwell on it enough.
I think what I want to do is, once we've finished season 1, I want to get our best theories, and this will probably be one of them, and then we'll just spend a whole episode talking about the theories through having seen all of the episodes again recently.
Exactly, because, like, as we're coming up with these new theories, it's like more and more stuff gets added information. Like last week, I was like, oh, that's cool. This week I was like, wow, yes, this is really pushing this theory. It's making them look.
We can also do diagrams and post them on the website and stuff as well.
Yes, that'd be good.
Anything else?
I don't know.
What about your lunch?
What did I have for lunch?
Every week I like to check in with Anthony's lunch. What did you have to eat today?
What did I have for lunch? I had some steamed pork buns.
Where'd you get them?
I made them at home.
You made them here?
Yeah.
And you didn't offer me any?
Well, yeah. Otherwise I wouldn't have any left. they were really good. They were really good. I could eat them again. What about you? What did you have for lunch?
I had a ham and cheese croissant.
Yeah, where from?
The bakery.
Which bakery?
The bakery down the road.
Bakery down the road.
Other brands are available.
Yes.
Bit of housekeeping. No pun of the week this week.
No pun of the week.
Come up on any.
The only pun was something
puns.
like related to a nose.
It wasn't that good. I didn't write it.
You had to it was not something that you could say as a joke.
You
had to see it. You go, yeah.
I think it was. Nose. It wasn't. It was barely a pun.
It was barely. Like maybe Pete was being nice that week. He was like, oh, I can't, make a joke about a nose.
It was something like a nose by any other name would smell as sweet.
That's it.
It's barely a
That's
pun.
not really a pun, yeah.
Social media. How can people that listen to this drivel contact us / learn more?
They can find us on Facebook by going through Tales from the Twists. All right, on Facebook,
Tales from the Twists, plural.
Yep, Twists, plural. And if you're there, make sure you're entering the competition, you know. It's still going.
When does it end?
I think it's the 14th, so you've gotten like a week, guys.
Yep.
So you guys get on that. And if you haven't entered now, you get to win yourself a free DVD compilation. Not compilation, collection, whatever. It's on there. You'll love it.
It's not just us having printed out the episodes on DVD.
It's literally
we bought it from a shop.
Bought it from a shop, the collector's complete collection. It's a good copy, and it's unused too, just so you know, alright? Our website is talesfromthetwist.wordpress.com.
Yep. Do we have Instagram yet?
No. I'm not getting Instagram. I'm not getting.
Are we on the Twitter?
Not on the Twitter yet. No, not on the Twitter. I'm not going to tweet. No, nothing.
Are we on MySpace?
Well, you know what? MySpace. What the hell? We're not on LinkedIn either, just so you ask. And we don't have a Pinterest.
Oh, LinkedIn would be a good one.
Yeah, if we had Pinterest, it would just be pictures of lighthouses. So, and that would get old really fast. We're on YouTube though, so we got some funny videos sometimes. We put up there.
Find us up on YouTube. This is something that's underrepresented. We have all of our episodes go up on YouTube.
Yep.
And if you don't want to download from iTunes,
it usually takes a couple of days, maybe to a week after the podcast to get the podcast.
But you can find most of our backlog on YouTube, and you can listen to our episodes there.
And also subscribe to us on iTunes so you can get this podcast straight to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
My name has been Joseph Lewis.
It has been Joseph
for the
Lewis.
duration of this episode, and then I go back to being Joe.
Alright, fair enough. And I am Anthony Aston Bull for the duration of this episode. I go back to being King Louis XIV at the end. See you guys.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in our minds when we record this episode next week.
Yeah, we will.
Thank you.